This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. If you don't already subscribe to Paramount Plus, please use our affiliate link by going to talkthroughmedia.com/Paramount Plus. Using our affiliate link gives us a little credit, which helps us to keep bringing you great content. U.S. residents only.
Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Star Trek Lower Decks podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Kyle.
And I think I can finally say the Lower Decks podcast. We will be covering season 2, episode 6 of Star Trek Lower Decks, titled The Spy Humongous. But before we get started, we want to mention again that this podcast is supported by our Patreon supporters, and you can become a supporter by going to patreon.com/Brian and Ruthie. We have been putting out early access versions of the podcast the last 3 weeks, and we'll be doing that again. I think we can pretty much say that it's been a success at this point, and people seem to like it, and it seems to yield a faster produced episode. Like, you may not completely notice that because, like, for example, last week, Kyle and we recorded way later than normal. So it wasn't the episode itself. Well, it didn't come out much later than normal. So that goes to show you that it's working. So anyway, so that's part of the reason why we're doing it, because it's a different technique, but it also gives you an incentive to want to listen to us and all the mistakes that we make. And then you can make fun of us early on. So anyway, patreon.com/Brian and Ruthie. And as little as $1 a month gets you access to it. Before we get started with feedback on this week's episode, we have some feedback on last week's episode. So we're going to open, actually the last 2 episodes. So we're going to open hailing frequencies. All right, so we got some feedback from Brian from Colorado from the last 2 episodes. Kyle, why don't you read those 2? They're pretty short.
Yeah, season 2, episode 4 was Mugatu Gumato, and Brian gave it a 6 out of 10. Last output Ferengis. I liked most of the episode, but the Mugatu mating scene was totally inappropriate and across the line. So the episode loses 4 points just for that scene.
You will not find a single one of us that disagrees with you, Brian. We're all in agreement there.
Yeah, it was if you know from the last episodes that we recorded or whatever, but it was like that whole scene basically shut it down for me. So I totally can relate to you.
Yeah.
Then he goes on to the next episode, season 2, episode 5, which was the embarrassment of the Dupplers, an 8.5 out of 10 Starbase Chases. This was a fun story with many great Trek callbacks. I like seeing more of a Starbase. The entire Duppler plotline was just dumb. So the rating goes down 1.5 points for that.
Again, we're in agreement because I felt exactly the same way about it. I thought that the plot line with the Dupplers was dumb. So, yep, you and I agree. So, all right. So let's move on to this week's episode, season 2, episode 6. The Spy Humongous. I have no idea why they call it humongous, but I guess because the Pakleds are big. I don't know. Written by John Cochran, who is a staff writer, I guess, on Lower Decks, but he has a very interesting past. He is a former contestant on Survivor, and not only that, he came back for another round on Survivor, and at the second go, he won. So I think it was Caramoan or something like that. Anyway, he won one of the seasons of Survivor. So, and somehow he went from Survivor contestant to comedy writer.
It's a change.
Yeah, it's a change. So, well, if this show, does anything where they need to like survive 39 days and on some remote planet, I would think that John Cochran would write it. Anyway, it's directed by Bob Suarez, and the description from ParamountPlus.com is as follows. Anomaly Consolidation Day on the USS Cerritos leaves the lower deckers with mixed emotions. Captain Freeman attempts to negotiate peace on the Pakled homeworld. It had a star date of 58105.1. Its air date was September 15th, 2021 at 11:38 p.m. Pacific time. And I stress that because this is the latest that I've seen it come out in a long time. When I've stayed up to watch it, it just was not coming on. And I kept refreshing. And I was clearing my cache and all this stuff, trying different browsers, nothing working. Trying my phone, trying my browser, nothing. Finally showed up at 2:38 a.m. Eastern time. So don't know why, but they had it out late. So, and it had a runtime of 24 minutes, 58 seconds. So, Kyle, what did you think of the Spy Humongous?
Little lower than previous episodes. 7 revolutions. Behold my giant helmet. He is strong. Out of 10.
What to give it? 8 anomaly consolidations. I don't know what.
That was the easiest one.
Yeah. Okay, so LT is not here with us tonight. We didn't say that on at start. He might end up coming in later. But his rating for tonight is 8 3/4 out of 10 super secret gift shops.
Nice. Good one.
Yeah. All right, listener ratings.
All right. First one comes from Brian from Colorado, and he gave it a 7.5 out of 10 big helmets.
Wes from Minnesota says the episode went down a little bit than last week's. I give this episode 9.15 Pakleds flying in space and surviving out of 10.
And Dwight Berman gives it a 7.9362. Every woman captain is a Janeway's.
And I took it. That's exactly how he said it. So.
Okay. It wasn't.
All right. We have our yeses.
Yes.
All right. First yes comes from Brian from Colorado, and he says learning a little bit more about the Pakleds and the funny associated points, like seeing that the Cerritos has a gift shop, that they kept calling Captain Freeman Captain Janeway, that a Pakled can survive in space, and hearing them say he is smart. Also, Boimler exploring whether he's Captain Material with the red shirts.
Yeah. Wes from Minnesota has 4. He says, the Pakleds were hilarious. Mistaking Captain Freeman for Captain Janeway was really funny. I thought the hierarchical structure of the Pakleds was funny. Power based upon how bigger the helmet was. Yes, I noticed that as well. Also, Tendi turning into a giant scorpion was hilarious. Yeah, I agree with that too. Oh, also, prank calling Armis was hilarious.
Yeah, that was my...
Yeah, I got to agree. That was hilarious. I think that was probably the funniest part of the whole episode for me.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of that, Kyle, what do you have to say?
Yep. First, Armis. Will we ever get justice for Tasha Yar? That was just a nice little, like, I don't know, just a nice little icing on the cake of the end of the episode. It was them prank calling him. Like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. The ACD, the anomaly consolidation or whatever it was called, it was funny because it was like the lower deck job was to clear the senior staff's junk that they collected from all their away missions. And I don't know, I love that because then I was thinking, I was like, oh, okay, if this is a thing, I was like, how much junk had to be cleared from like Picard's office? Or since they were talking about Riker a lot, like what was the stuff that Riker's was getting, I guess, thrown away and cataloged?
Well, and the funny thing is, for it to be called junk, it's like some pretty hazardous junk.
Right, I know. And that was what was funny too. It was just like everything, like they're just like letting lowerlings to like, okay, go into my office, clear the stuff out, and like half of it could kill you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just silly but fun. And then Boimler, I liked in the end, goes back to his friends, and it's kind of like he sees how ridiculous the red shirts were, and then the whole captain stuff. Like I don't know, that the red shirt stuff was kind of like, okay, whatever, funny. It's funny you're called red shirts.
Yeah, it was.
But because they're like all their speeches and they're like no action. They're just all like air. But then of course we get to see Boimler go in. He like saves Tendi, and it was just like that was just a fun storyline that in this episode I really enjoyed, because it was just like Boimler kind of gets sucked in, but then also is like, wait, I'm the same as you. Like I don't, like he just, they're all basically really have nothing to show, and actually Boimler has a lot more to show.
Yeah.
And in the end, he actually has real friends.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I enjoyed that. That was it.
I have to agree with you on a lot of what you said as far as Boimler getting dirty and, his quick thinking to help Tendi, showing that leadership is not just by inspiring, but by doing.
Right.
And,
Right.
It's kind of silly to have these like ensigns, teach leadership course, because they don't know what they're talking about either. Right.
Right.
Pretty clear that they're only getting a part of the puzzle.
Well, yeah. And like, and that was the thing. It's like they're like looking at this like textbook thing of like, okay, do step 1, step 2, step 3, like acting like a captain, and like that's going to make me a captain. And really in the end it was Boimler who was actually acting and like really, like taking care of the situation. So yeah, I love that part of the story.
Yeah. And it's like you hear stories about that kind of thing where Picard, I think he acted on the Stargazer when his captain was killed, and that like elevated him. I don't know about whether it was right then and there or if it was later, but it raised him up to eventually become captain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those kind of things that happen where you don't just lead by telling a speech.
Right.
It's not just speechifying. And that's where it was really silly. They both come in, 2 of them come in at the same time and start speechifying. It's like, oh, you don't get it.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, did you notice that there were 2 of the crew members that heard the first one talking and got like all starry-eyed?
Yes, I know. And then by the second one and then the third one, they were like, okay, like their starry eyes went away.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was mildly humorous that the Pakleds call their homeworld Pakled Planet. So it's one we've never heard of before, but it seems very appropriate to them. But getting back to the ACD, like I thought it was funny, and because I didn't see it, where Mariner, is like, damn you, Boimler, for getting out of the duty, and then she says, such a great call.
Yeah.
So you expect her to be against him, but then she realizes, what a great idea. I wish I would have thought of it. All the anomalies were happening to Mariner at one point. It was like where she wouldn't even have the thing in her hands, yet it would afflict her and, not somebody else. She got like all those stingers on her, and she got slimed and put up on the ceiling. And there was one other thing that happened to her as well.
The nanobots on her hands.
The nanobots on her hands, yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny. The structure of the Pakleds, I think we mentioned it before, but first we have the ambassador and like, I can't represent for that. And you need someone else for that. And then, then they go to the queen. Oh, you need someone else for that. And then it shows the king. And then it's before he even talked to the king, it's like the emperor. And then before she can even talk to him, invasion, basically, revolution, and they kill the emperor. And it's funny how the guy, it's like, you can no longer keep us down. And then he looks at it, he's like, oh,
yeah, I'm a big hat. You are strong.
You are strong. Anyway, there's something about the Pakleds. They don't make sense. They don't. They don't make any sense. How does he?
Right.
How do these? And please don't take offense to what I'm saying here. These people have no business being able to have a warp drive and have like a civilization that they do. And you see all these like fine architecture and all this, but somehow they do. So I don't know, is the problem that they can't communicate, or is that they're like actually intelligent at night or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like when they sleepwalk, they're really smart or something like that.
Yeah.
But it is kind of funny because I don't know. It's hard to explain, really. But I find them funny as long as I don't think about them too much.
Yeah, I think that's the part, because I they're part of my nose, so
yeah,
we're good there.
All right, we have LT's. Yes, this is what you want to read his.
Yeah, LT says Boimler, buff tailored uniform and command hair. Yeah, I was kind of worried. Like, I was kind of like, what's up with the buff uniform? Like, how did he get buff? And then I guess I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess the uniform did that. So I don't know. I kind of like, I don't know, it took me back. Like, wait, how did he get all these muscles? He didn't have any muscles.
Shoulder pads. That's how he.
Yes, exactly. Ransom and the Temerian looking for Ramdar. He kept slipping in the sayings. Yeah, and I didn't put that down. But there was something he did say whenever they lost him or something like that. But that was funny. The Pakleds toilet gag and that Mr. Redshirt got to go clean up the unspeakable mess. The red shirt, including a Kaziti?
Oh, Kaziti, yes.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, oh, yeah. That was the girl, wasn't it?
The Kaziti, no. That's
no. Sorry.
The Kaziti were a race from the animated series, and they're one of the few races that you can say that were actually had an origin from outside of Star Trek. They actually come from the author Larry David. Editor's note, Larry Niven, not Larry David. And he wrote an episode of the animated series, I believe was called The Slaver Weapon. And he got the okay to bring in the Kaziti into Star Trek. So it's like, I don't know of any other example where this is actually an alien culture that has its origins outside of Star Trek. So,
yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I think they were called something else. Maybe the Kazin or something like that. Yeah, the Kazin is what they were called. But might have been that. Yeah, but the planet was the Slaver Weapon, or the episode was called The Slaver Weapon.
Slaver Weapon,
and it was Larry Niven, and and it was Kaziti.
Cool. I still have not seen the animated series.
Well, it's available on Paramount Plus.
Is it on Paramount?
Yes, and in fact, you can go click the link on talkthroughmedia.com. And
And
we don't mention that too much during the episode, but it's always something that we get a little incentive from Viacom CBS if you sign up through us. So it doesn't cost you anything.
Nope.
So
and if
help
you're
us out.
not subscribed yet and you're listening to us, then go subscribe, because it's really just go subscribe. All right. Well, that was all of LT's.
All right. So let's move on to our no's.
No!
All right. Our first no comes from Brian from Colorado, and he says the whole anomaly collection duty plot was lame, including Tendy's scorpion transformation. Huh. I'm surprised.
I liked the scorpion transformation.
Yeah, I liked it too. Huh.
Ironically,
Okay.
Wes from Minnesota also says anomaly collection duty. Just know, even though it was funny, it felt kind of out of place for me. See, I enjoyed it. I definitely
Yeah, I
enjoyed
didn't
it.
really feel. Well, to each his own. I'll get to my no later.
Now, here is something that I would have been curious to hear what LT was thinking about this. He says, well, not this part, but because I think this is true. Mike McMahon has a Pakled fetish. He definitely does seem to like using them, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if in season 3 there's another set of bad guys,
Yeah.
The chaos of Pakled Planet. If they are that scattered, how can they manage to get a ship into space? Yep, no questions there. I have to agree, but there's something funny about that nonetheless. It doesn't make any sense, which makes it funny to me because I don't know. It seems like one of those like just history's mistakes or something.
Yeah. Well, I guess that gets us into our own no's. And I'll just go with mine. Like, I like the anomaly collection duty. Like, I thought that was kind of funny because it was like such a very lower deck thing that like that's a job for someone in the lower levels of the ship or whatever. But then that was the thing. It was like the whole the Pakleds. I just, for some reason, it's just weird to me. It's like I feel like they're like supposed to be like Klingons, but just really, really stupid.
Well, that's pretty much what they are.
Right. But I mean, it's like I just didn't find that funny because it was kind of, I mean, obviously my rating I used like, part of it because they were a big part of the show. But yeah, it's kind of like what you're kind of were saying and going on, where it's like, okay, how did these people even make it into space? It's like, it's just almost kind of like this Dumb and Dumber kind of trope. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's funny because it's stupid. And so I don't know. Yeah. I'm kind of like, I don't find them that funny if they are part of the whole entire show. If it's like our guys ran around the corridor or opened it, like trying to escape some other alien, and they open it up and it's like Pakleds and like, oh no, like, oh, here's another enemy or somebody that we have to run for. I don't know. It's like if they were like a secondary to something else, then I might be like, okay, that's funny. It's like they're just the stupid aliens, like whatever. So it just, to me, I'm like, I stupid for stupid sake. I don't know. It's just, to me, it makes no sense. And I'm like, I could use less of it.
Yeah, I hear you. The red shirts skirting action. Well, I kind of talked about this already. Skirting actual work and being inspiring. That's just, you can't just speechify, you have to sometimes lead by doing. So that's my thing.
It's just funny that they called themselves the red shirts, and we all know what that is. Like I wholeheartedly expecting them to like die or something. But then I guess that would be like, okay, they actually did something or did something heroic or whatever. But no, instead they get to the bridge, only to sit in the chair for like 2 seconds and then go clean up the Pakled bathroom. So that was funny.
Yeah. All right. That's all that I could come up with. Might be something else later, but I think that was it. I mean, I think there's some agreement that I have about the Pakleds, and I find it amusing, but there's only so much. Like, it's almost like the Pakleds have, you can't give them a 10 on a Pakleds episode like this. It's just not, it's not possible. So, like, out of a maximum 8.5, they get 8. That's kind of how I feel about it. Because otherwise, because they're just too stupid.
Yeah, it's like low hanging fruit jokes. Like where it's just obvious, and like there's, I don't know, it's predictable, and it's like, okay, like it's funny that there were like so many other bigger hats. And yes, it went from like whatever, the ambassador to like the queen, the king, the emperor, and then the revolution. Like that was kind of clever and funny, because then the revolution kills the emperor and then takes over the big
way.
Right. Yeah. So it's like there's some funny bits there, but it's like, oh, too much. It's like, yeah. Anyways, I'll leave it alone. Like, they're not my favorite.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so let's get on to the not good enough section.
Not good enough, damn it! Not good enough!
All right. Our first one comes from Brian from Colorado, and he says, my jaw dropped in the final Skin of Evil prank call scene. I want to learn more about what's up with Armis in these days. Yep. There was something about, like, I mean, because obviously that episode's when Tasha Yar was killed. And so, I get that, there's the whole deal about, it's like Tasha Yar, like, comes back, but she's in an from an alternate universe or something like that, has a kid that, with the Romulan or something like that. And so are we going to see her come back and like, all that kind of stuff. So I know that they've done a couple Tasha Yar, like references in Lower Decks. And so I think I was like, what I was like seeing some online, it's like, oh, is she coming back? Is she going to be on Lower Decks, or is she coming back to Trek and all that stuff? But I mean, that was such a pretty heavy episode that, that really set the whole, like, you killed her off and it was horrible. And then for them to like come on and like basically prank calling him and calling him poop, like whatever, that I don't know. It was just like, it was funny. I just like when that scene came on or when they said that, it was just like, I don't know. I really, really enjoyed it. And I thought that was awesome. But I kind of agree. It's like, yeah, I kind of want to know more, but at the same time, it's just like, okay, that was a nice way to end the show.
I think Armis is a being that should deserve lots of prank calls.
Yes.
It should just, get prank calls every 10 minutes.
Yeah. It would be funny if Armis would be always like just this total like butt of all jokes.
Yeah.
We could be in freaking like Discovery, and then all of a sudden it's just like something where they like, I don't know. That could go too far, but I mean, just to always be like that reference being like, oh yeah, like don't be an Armis or whatever. I could be on board for that.
Yeah. Wes from Minnesota, he says, the Red Shirts group, it was fascinating. I want more of this. I don't know how I feel about that. I think if they were actually effective at, moving up, I could see it. But there was an air of, what's the word? Being fake, being like, not being genuine, that, kind of, I didn't like. And that whole thing about like, who are you? I'm trying to say it's just basically there's leading by telling a speech, and then there's leading by, being a hero and doing what's necessary. And, like some of the most effective generals are the ones that are, on the ground with their troops, fighting with them, that's leading by example, and I've said that about 3 times this episode. And that's why Boimler, got complimented by Ransom, because, he's exactly true. He went in there and did what was necessary when everyone else was just taking cover, and he was able to figure it out. But
Yeah, I like my first, and I don't know if I'm saying if I'm remembering correctly, but like, I mean, it was like, in the end, everybody leaves the one dude that ends up getting the acting captain and being on the bridge or whatever. But the whole like calling him, I'm not sure it was funny, like whatever. But like I got that Red Squad feeling from them.
yes,
And I don't know if it's like it was
think
like
that
they're
was
just
intentional.
like, oh. Yeah, and that's why, like that was my first kind of like, oh, they're these uppity ups, like special Starfleet side, whatever. But then also it's like, okay, wait, no, they're just like, they're just like the regular crew. They're just like their own clique,
Yeah.
And
It was
so,
kind of,
like
it was kind of like Nicholas Lacano. Try to say that like Picard. I don't recall what the character's name was, the leader of them.
Yeah. Anyways. Do we have an LT?
I think we do.
Yes, we do.
Hey.
Oh goodness. General.
He snuck in here.
I have a large helmet. I am strong.
Yes, you do. I have a little helmet, but it's orange.
I think we were right about to say you're not good enough.
Yep.
Well, too bad nobody saw that but you guys.
I can pull it off the image.
You'll make it the blog post or part of the blog post.
Okay.
Oh, and you need to.
All right, it's up to
hold on. He needs to be.
Start recording, LT.
I am.
Okay.
Supposedly, that was Jennifer.
I thought it was.
I thought it was.
Well, at least according to Memory Alpha, it is. It was, but
that was the thing. They never mentioned anybody's names because I don't think they
mention.
ever.
They mentioned Ensign Casey,
Right?
Yeah, but no one else, and like there was nothing in the captions either, which I thought they would do, but they didn't.
Ensign Casey is played by Neil Casey, same spelling.
Well, that's cool. Since she was hanging with the Kazinti.
Yeah. I explained to Kyle about the Kazinti. One of the few species in Star Trek that actually has its origins from outside of Star Trek.
And who's actually canon and who never made an appearance in anything but the animated series.
Right.
Which I have to catch up on now.
Well, I think we actually did see a Kazinti in Star Trek 4, I want to say, or maybe Star Trek 5.
Incorrect.
Incorrect.
One of the strippers on the Planet of Galactic Peace. And
I was thinking they had they had an extra in a Monster Maroon in one of the crowd scenes.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
All right. Where are we starting, or where
we are starting
with LT's? We didn't do his not
didn't.
Good enough, but we just talked about it.
And look who we have here. LT.
Hey.
It is I.
Yes, you have arrived. So
I have arrived. I am strong.
You are strong.
I have a big helmet.
He does have a big helmet, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. So we were actually about to just say you're not good enough. So your timing is quite good here. So why don't you go into them?
Well, my not good enough is still centered around our new group of ensigns, the red shirts, because it seems that we only got one by name, and it looks like it was Jennifer. And I think that the external sources have said it's Jennifer.
Yeah. According to Memory Alpha, it identifies her as Jennifer. And I will also say that in the credits, the same actress Lauren Lapkus is did voices in this episode, so that would suggest that it is Jennifer. She didn't like have that like smirk this time, but you know,
It's her, but
yeah,
I was hoping we were actually going to get her real Andorian name.
yeah,
You know, answer the question: is her name really Jennifer,
yeah,
or is
exactly.
is
Or
that just what?
Everybody calls her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Not good enough. Would want to know more.
we want to know more.
yeah. Well, it's kind of like reminds me of last season with the Tellarite Captain Durango. You know, what's the deal with that? Is that his name?
Well, considering that last week we heard the people on the station calling her Becky
Yes.
instead of Beckett.
Yeah.
Well, that you
So-
can certainly, understand. I mean, Becky would certainly be, much like Brad is a short form of Bradward.
Or
Right,
Bradford.
But my point is the inflection. If you still have that little Valley Girl edge and you go, Becky,
Yeah.
so now it's Jennifer, all I could say, man, is inquiring minds want to know. What is her real name?
Well, maybe we will find out. There's more episodes to go.
Maybe her real name is Jennifer. Who knows? Maybe she's part human. I don't know.
One never knows.
Maybe she's 1/8 human or something. Much like Alexander was 1/4 human, I think, right? Alexander
However the math played out on that.
Yeah.
But the only problem with that is going to be the non-standard canon for our Andorians has been they are trisexual.
Right.
So
That's right. Okay.
I don't know how the logistics of that one's going to work out if she's got some human in her.
That's true. Yeah.
That's a question. That's one of those phone in to Ward or Dayton Ward. I almost said Ward
Yeah.
Burton. Ward Burton drives race cars.
Yeah. That makes me.
or maybe we can make a note if we ever get to talk to Una McCormick again.
Yes. And I believe that we have an article, or not an article, but something in the news about her this week. So,
Well, way cool.
yes. All right. Kyle, what about you?
Alrighty. Well, it's Mariner saying Devana, Tindy's first name. And it's like I felt like she was concerned for her after she was pooped from that alien. And I wanted, it was not good enough in the sense I'm like, I want more. And so, like, because, Mariner always has this facade around her, she's always showing off. Like, she always tries to play like she's strong or like just cool or whatever. But like at that moment, like just for a second, it's like you kind of felt like, like you saw like that she really cared about like Tindy, like just like what was like, is she okay? Like what happened? Like whatever. So I don't know if you saw that or not. It was like a very, very quick, and just her using her name, which I thought was very kind of really cool to show that, oh, Mariner is not just this, show off and like whatever. She does have, she really cares about, our little crew. And I just wanted to see more of that.
Yep. When she was wrestling, big blimpy Rutherford.
Yeah. Yeah. She's starting to drop her shields. So that's always good to see.
Well, my thing, and it seemed to be very convenient because I don't think we ever really saw it before, was Boimler's klutziness. That just sort of became a plot point this week. And I don't remember that really being like, I could see him being klutzy, but not this klutzy, I guess. Like, because he's awkward, but awkward doesn't mean klutzy,
Klutzy, yeah.
Right? It can imply klutziness, but it doesn't necessarily mean klutziness. So that's what I have to say about that. So
Good point.
yeah. All right. That's it. Now let's move on to our feedback section and open hailing frequencies, because we've got quite a bit. All right, so we've got 3 voicemails. One of them is really long, so let's get to it. First one is from Jeff X Force 11.
Hello, Star Trek fans. This is Jeff X Force 11 leaving my feedback about the Spy Humongous. Oh my goodness. What a cool and fun episode. I like the fact that Boimler has learned from his experience both on the Cerritos and with Riker and his crew about what real leadership is. And yeah, he got caught up at the beginning, but it's nice to see him progressing. And I enjoyed getting to see Tendi experiencing some new things and getting to see what it's like to really be lower decks. And I like how we had the 3 of them working together this episode and then Boimler off on his own. I think it was a nice pairing and a way to look at things. And the whole Paklet storyline can be a little annoying, but I mean, it was a minor part comparatively to what was going on, and it's played well for comedy. All right, those are my thoughts. X-Force 11 is out.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff X Force 11, for your feedback. Keeping the streak alive. So
nice.
The other end of the I-85 coalition is in the house.
No, but he makes a good point. It was like seeing the 3-pack and then Boimler in the end, joins back with them. That was a fun part. And it's funny that it's like, I'm starting to think about it. It's like, not only like the Pakled storyline, it's like, yeah, it's like he kind of was like, oh, it was a minor part, and it kind of was. But isn't it funny that it's like Mariner's mom seems to always be in that role in these episodes? She's always in that like little side thing, but it's like really not kind of the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, she hasn't been given the spotlight. She's just in the background.
Well, that's kind of how they pitched the show in the first place, was that it would be, the A plot would be the B plot and the B plot would be the A plot. And that's pretty much what we see from week to week,
No, it's good that they're keeping that.
Like I think I could see an episode, where she's part of the A plot, but would have to be with like Boimler or with Mariner, right? Otherwise, it probably not. Like, you're not going to see an A plot with Ransom. It doesn't really make sense. But yeah, I don't know. I thought the whole her plot line was kind of funny, but at the same time, it's like I say, like I find the Pakleds funny and I find them amusing as long as I don't think about them too much. If I think about them too much, then I just kind of go, how can they be space faring? How do they have warp drive? It's like, okay, they're stealing from other, races. Okay, that I understand. But in order to get that far, how did they even get into space?
Right.
So anyway, all right. Well, thanks for that, Jeff X Force 11. And before we get into the next episode or the next bit of feedback, I need to check something first. Okay. It's a good thing that I checked, because I wanted to find out who got in their feedback first. Was it Dwight Berman or was it Mary Lou? And the answer is Dwight Berman. So I was going to actually play Mary Lou's feedback first, but that would have been wrong. So Dwight Berman, you're up next. So here we go.
Hi, this is Dwight Berman. Calling for the Lower Decks podcast there. Hi, Brian and Quail and Lieutenant and and blowing a special kiss to my best girl, Mary Lou. I hope that I get to hear from you, and that maybe you might respond to my messages from a couple weeks, from a couple episodes. I know that my messages got all rolled into one episode because I was late the first time, so I apologize, Mary Lou. I'm sorry. I sometimes I'm late with things, so I do apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little bit flabbergasted here. My gasters are getting a little flabbered, so I apologize. I'm sorry. Okay. So anyway, what was the name of this episode? I forgot, but I don't know. It didn't really grab my ass like the rest of the episodes have so far. So it was good. I don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't real ass grabbing. Excuse my cussing. Maybe dog grabbing there, because like I said, I'm an ass man. But it didn't grab me like it did some of the other episodes. But it was good. The Pakleds are kind of dumb. They have a lot of big government. It kind of seems like almost like the government here, like it's real big and a lot of dumb people running it. I don't know. I think I see a lot of similarities there. Like a lot of stupid politician people. Oh, excuse me. I don't mean to call people stupid. That's not nice. I apologize again. Anyway. So the Pakleds, yeah, they're kind of dumb, and they for some reason they assume that everyone that is a woman captain is a Janeway. I don't know if maybe they think that's like a pronoun or something. I don't know, but anyway, so there was that plot line. I don't know. It was all right, I guess. The funny thing about when he thinks he's in the bathroom and then he got spaced. That was kind of funny. And then there was the whole anomaly collection thing for Trash Day. That was kind of funny because we got to see Tindy get mad finally because she's always so happy-go-lucky, and something finally had to make her break. And I don't know, Rutherford, him and Mariner seemed kind of like ancillary characters in this one, because it was mainly Tindy and Boimler, or as Quail would see, I'm sorry, I don't mean to make fun at you, Quail, but you have a hard time pronouncing that name. And it is maybe a little bit hard sometimes. Like I have a hard time speaking because I get flabbergasted. But anyway, yeah. So, there was that whole thing. Where was I? I forgot. I don't know where I'm going. But anyway, oh yeah, and oh gosh, Mary Lou, you're a wonderful singer. Star Trek. Everybody loves Star Trek. Star Trek. Oh my God, that's like an earworm for me. Mary Lou, you have the voice of a goddess. No, actually, scratch that. You're above a goddess. You're like Babs Streisand. It's amazing. And I heard you kind of swooning over Anson Mount Pike and Geordie LaForge. Just to let you know that I kind of look like if Anson Mount and Geordie LaForge had a baby. And then that baby was horribly disfigured, and then you felt sorry for it, and that's what I look like. But hopefully you can get better. and maybe
I'm
we
sorry,
can still
Dwight.
have our love connection and maybe come together sometime. I'll wear the visor like Jordy, and you know it'll be fun. Anyway, I probably rambled enough here. I forgot the rating. My rating on this episode will be a 7.9362. Just it's kind of a random thing, but it's 7.9362. Every woman captain is a Janeways. All right. Anyway, that's Dwight Bergman reporting for the Star Trek Lower Decks podcast. Over and out.
I like reporting. Like I didn't know. Thank you, Dwight, for your news report.
I swear this podcast is starting to write itself. We don't have to do anything. We just play the voicemails. We don't even have to watch the episode anymore. We just. Oh goodness.
I think he's got you pegged there, Quail.
Yep.
Yes, Quail.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's always fun getting Kyle to read the Patreon supporter list. That is a little mental tightrope that he doesn't seem to, he seems to fall off the tightrope before the end of it. And I'm not doing a very good job myself right now. But anyway, it's funny. I heard another podcast say something similar about how the Pakleds remind them of our government. And it's hard to figure out how the Pakleds are even a thing. But we talked about that already. So we brought up that point earlier, LT. It's like how are the Pakleds even like spacefaring? Because it doesn't seem like they'd even get off of their planet, much less,
Well, my take has always been that they're, and I know the phrase "idiot savant," might come in.
Yeah,
that I know people that could barely fill out a form or do something else, but they could fix their car with no instructions. And they could fix mechanical things because they just had a sense of it.
Yeah, that's kind of like how I've thought of them, or at least I thought of them prior to them being on Lower Decks. Is that they were kind of like they had a less developed speech center, but or maybe they didn't sound intelligent, through the universal translator, but had other skills that obviously made up for it. So like that one species, and forget the planet, but it's the planet that had the 20s from TOS. They were great imitators, and so they base their entire world on Chicago mobs, of the 20s.
Because they had a book.
Yeah. And they were able to imitate, the whole thing. And, maybe the Pakleds are similar, so, or the Pakleds are good at using things once they find it. I don't know. But anyway, well, Dwight, you've got a response, and here it comes from Mary Lou. So, yes, she does respond to you. So here it goes.
Hello, Brian and Kyle and LT. This is Mary Lou, and I'm calling about this week's episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, on CBS, which is now Paramount Plus, which is also still difficult to use. But anyway, I'm calling about that episode, and I thought it was okay. You know, the Pakleds seem kinda stupid, stupider than you'd think. Someone who could kidnap Geordi and, get one over on the Enterprise for a whole episode. You think they wouldn't be able to be conned into giving up the state secrets with one sentence? Now, But anyway, you just laugh and laugh and laugh, because it's a cartoon, Mary Lou, and you can't get upset about a cartoon. So, anyway, Boimler, he had a sexy chest. He got a nice man chest, after the makeover. I thought it was a good amount of animation to make his chest look the way it did, Oh, yes, speaking of that episode, with the cartoons being funny, it made me sad whenever they showed the swamp monster that killed Tasha. That made me sad, and a cartoon to make me sad by referencing my favorite television show, Good job, sexy man chest, making me cry talking about Tasha without showing me Tasha, just showing me Tasha's murderer. They should have done more than taunted him. But, anyway, hello, Dwight Berman. This is Mary Lou, but you already know that. I got your message, and I really appreciate the flattery. I have a couple questions for you. Do you have a lot of money? Do you have a lot of stamina? Do you have a lot of patience? If the answer is yes to 3 questions, we can talk. And I appreciate all the compliments about the bosoms. They are nice and soft, very warm. But anyway, time to wrap it up. Wrap it up now, Mary Lou. Wrap it up.
Okay. So, so Dwight, do you have money, stamina, and patience? If you do, then you have a chance.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, thank you, Mary Lou, for your feedback yet again.
Oh, well, these 2 kids get together.
Yep.
I'm putting my helmet back on.
Yep.
We're going to get that voicemail that's going to be both of them at the same time in the same room.
Yep. I can see it now.
Find out. Yep.
Don't worry, Dwight. I know a good lawyer.
Anyway,
we're gonna have our first wedding on this show. Marriage is what brings us together today.
See, where were you a couple weeks ago? I made 3 Princess Bride references. Brian didn't get it.
I know that movie, but it's not in my favorites. So
it's the second most quotable movie there is.
Second most? What's the first most?
Pulp Fiction.
Oh,
yeah.
That's funny. I heard that quoted just yesterday. Something was, it was some metal band was playing on stage, and they had the what's the Samuel L. Jackson thing where he, the anger speech, whatever it is. I can't think of how it goes, but that was is in the song. Anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't mention this last week, but since Mary Lou mentioned it again this week, I will say that the Paramount Plus app is still difficult to use, and we were actually talking about this earlier before we started recording. How you can't get an image from Paramount Plus, and that means any way, including from a browser. So, like if I try to take a screenshot from Chrome or something like that, I get a black screen.
Yeah, same as a phone.
Yeah,
It's annoying.
yeah. So it's really annoying.
And I mean, I understand why they did it. It's just annoying.
Yeah.
It's like the whole, copy protection or whatever, like whatever. It's like, okay, that's fine. But like, if you're taking a screenshot, what's it going to hurt? It's not recording the video and like then uploading it. It's just a screenshot.
Well, and especially like, I believe our use of those is covered under fair use because we're actually covering the show, as a review. We are literally reviewing the episode. So our use of it is allowed.
That's classic fair use.
Yes. Yeah. So, anyway. All right. That is it for our feedback for this evening. Do you guys have any other notes, anything you wanted to bring up about this episode that you didn't bring up earlier? Or LT, obviously you didn't hear what we said for your rating, yeses or nos, but
well, that's fine. I think the big thing that I've noticed from last season to what we've gotten this season is I've noticed that they're going with the angle that they're developing Mariner's character, that I think she is still going to be, sassy and quirky and working hard to stay an ensign. But you noticed, like you had said, I think you're starting to see her open up a little bit and start bonding with the other three.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than she has in the past.
Yeah.
So it's nice that even in a cartoon, we're seeing some not only character development, but a little character progression.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Same way with our boy Bradward there.
Yes.
That he's definitely come a long way.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, if you think about it, the only reason why he's back on the Cerritos is because he was cloned, right? And supposedly they didn't have a place for him. Otherwise, he would have been, Lieutenant Junior grade on the Titan. And it's clear, based on his actions this week, that position was earned, So I think it's just a question of him, this version of Boimler ascending to that same rank, and I think we're going to get a point where Mariner finally grows up a little bit and stops trying to, slough off the responsibility. Like, the stupid thing is, right? I think with her, the problem with her is that I think I had this thought in my mind a few weeks ago in between episodes, and then I didn't end up saying it. I think Mariner likes command, and the problem is that when she got to her role, when she got out of Starfleet Academy, she couldn't be in command, right? So it's kind of like, you get out of school and you think you're going to get this like awesome job where you're like, have all this responsibility, and you get out of school and you're in the mailroom. Like that's the kind of thing I think might have happened with her. And, as a result, maybe her actions have been partially from, having things happen to her, like, her losing her friend on the Quito or whatever it's called, who got, eaten, and just disappointment. So she's she acts that way because of disappointment. She started, acting out also because she was brought command at too young an age, right? So it's like a combination of several things that are working against her. And I think eventually she's going to reach the point where she's going to stop fighting against it and realize, like, because we've already seen it. It's like in a crisis, she's fantastic, but she's got to be able to be that way when there isn't a crisis, right?
And I was just going to throw in, just from my experience, when I was in service, when you're in charge and you're in the middle of something, exciting or meaningful, or you're doing something, it's great, as far as you're in charge and you're making stuff happen and things are going. The part that kills you, the part that sucks your soul out, is when it's admin time.
Yes.
And when you got to do paperwork.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And when you got to do evaluations, and when it's, parade ground stuff and vehicle maintenance. So that could very well be it, that she's great when, the bacon's in the skillet, when something's going on.
Yeah.
But we saw how she acted when they promoted her.
Yeah.
Just the day-to-day drudge of, when you go up in rank, then you have to go to meetings and you have to fill out forms, and I would say go to concerts and pick office furniture. And,
right.
That's the part that really isn't exciting.
Right.
And if you're kind of an adrenaline junkie, it's tough to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think that's where, some people are like, some doctors, for example, work well as in the emergency, or, as surgeons, but others, are more maintenance kind of thing, or, long-term care, something like that. Like,
it's a very different dynamic from when you're in the ER and it's, a cornucopia. It could be anything. And it's, as opposed to being a PA or a general, like a family doctor.
Right.
And it's, stuffy noses and scraped knees and stitches and beans in ears and things like that.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's like, you're in a trauma center where you're dealing with gunshot wounds and, stuff like that, versus, having to deal with scrapes and, and then, you got other doctors that are like dealing with cancer and, stuff like that. And I don't know, liver problems and things like that, like more long-term issues that may deal with, like not short-term gain, but long-term, treatment. And, the disciplines are completely different, So anyway, we're off on a tangent here. Kyle, do you have anything else you wanted to bring up about this episode?
Yeah, nope. That was pretty much it.
I'm thinking we're going to be done with the Pakleds by the end of the season, because I don't know how much further they can stretch the Pakleds. So that's, I guess, the one thing that I'll interject, and that wasn't anything that I had written down, but just us talking about it, I would have to think that, and I guess, why are they planning to put a bomb on Earth, so why are they doing that, and for who are they doing that? Because it makes
maybe they want to take over Starfleet.
Maybe, I don't know,
because they have ships that go, and we are strong.
Yeah, you have Janeway, Enterprise, and Janeway.
We want our own Enterprise and our own Janeway.
That's funny.
Oh, well, I guess we'll find out.
And we said it on 2 different series about how many times can they go back to the well with the Klingons and the Romulans, sir?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's interesting. And the other thing that we have to think that and we're basing this based on what we know from like the Picard novel, which we know was inspired by the Picard show, and we know that they were working on evacuating the Romulans years before the actual sun went supernova, and the rogue synths went rogue in 2385. They're in 2381 right now. Is it possible that whatever the Pakleds are doing somehow ties into the Romulan supernova? I don't know. It's not enough for me to play shock horror. But I am just speculating because I have no idea. But if it were, I could play this.
There's a conspiracy out there. You hear what I'm saying? There's a conspiracy. A C-O-N conspiracy.
Indeed. All right. So let's, of course, go to the references section. And yet again, another Janeway reference. Janeway is a very popular character we hear a lot of. We're going to be hearing a lot more of that name very soon, particularly on Prodigy. We see another Gorn reference in this. Particularly, there was a picture of one on Mariner's pad, and it might have also been the skull of, or part of the skull that was in that one canister, that
the rapidly mutating frog skull.
Yeah, might have been, but I don't know for sure. Of course, you can't. I forgot to say this. Why did I not say this? This spot, the references section, I have it mislabeled here. It says help from trekmovie.com. No. This spot, the references section, is brought to you by talkthroughmedia.com. This is 100% generated by me. The whole thing is me. So just for that, I have to say.
Yay.
All of it is mine. So, if people come up with a lot more, oh well, but it's all stuff I came up with. Of course, the red shirts. What else can be said about that? If I didn't mention the red shirts, and it's kind of funny at the end, of course, the red shirts fail.
You're right.
So it's also, the Kzinti, LT, you mentioned the Kzinti, and I had mentioned the Kzinti earlier. Very interesting that they come from, prior works from Larry Niven. The Kazin is where they come from, but they were in the TAS episode, The Slaver Weapon. So,
yes.
And I do remember seeing that when I was 7 years old. So Riker's trombone, we see mentioned in this, and they're talking about, how often he polishes his trombone, and Boimler says it's kind of, what do you say? It was distracting or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. We find out that there's a store on the Cerritos. In fact, we see Starfleet and Cerritos merch, and you have to figure out that they're pretty much going to be selling that T-shirt if they don't already. And I checked before we went on started recording, and they don't actually sell that shirt yet, but I have to think that they will be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We hear the Tal Shiar mentioned, of course. And of course, we hear the Tal Shiar mentioned a lot in Picard. And of course, they were mentioned in TNG first with, I believe that's Face of the Enemy, the episode with Deanna Troi impersonating a Tal Shiar officer on the Romulan Warbird. And then we see them again on Deep Space Nine, but they're essentially, and then again on Picard. They play a big part in Picard. And they're like the Romulan version of the Obsidian Order or Section 31, similar kind of organizations. We see Mariner get infected with nanobots, of course, in TNG, very similar beings or whatever artificial beings were called nanites. And nanobots, I think they use nanobots because that is much more common or appropriate now to the vernacular. So I think they called them nanobots intentionally there. So as opposed to calling them nanites. Boimler's speech, when he's kind of taking in Riker and, speaking like Riker would do, you notice that the backdrop that came through wasn't Riker speaking on the Titan. It was Riker speaking on the Enterprise D.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear, this is kind of an inside reference. But I mention it because we've only seen him once on the show, but it was Winger Bingston. And this was in the episode actually when Mariner got promoted. He was one of the people that performed, I believe, in the officers.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the Winger Bingston's one-man show.
Yes, that's right. And of course, we get to see Armus at the end of the show, and we all seem to enjoy him getting tortured.
Yep.
And the last thing that I put on here, something that Geordi tricked the Pakleds with, the Crimson Force Field. It was from that episode Samaritan Snare, where he says, "Oh, they applied the Crimson Force Field," and that like knocked out the Pakleds. It was just Geordi did something to distract them, and he took down their systems, and he said that it was a Crimson Force Field, but it was not an actual thing. So anyway, that's all that I came up with. There's probably other things, but I'm especially proud of that because I can say 100% all of those came to me from me.
Good job.
There were no articles anywhere that I could find that had any Easter eggs. So anyway, all right. So let's move on to our shipwide announcements. Thanks to Wes Huntington again for collecting these news items for us. Kind of a not the greatest thing to hear about, but apparently during the Star Trek Day celebration last week, Wilson Cruz got someone in the audience that directed at him a homophobic slur. And just makes you wonder, it's like, how can you be a Star Trek fan?
Right.
Apparently, he said he didn't react to it other than making attention to it on Twitter. And I did see him make attention to it on Twitter. So I guess he kind of just at the time just didn't pay attention. But, after the fact, he did. Worth saying that Star Trek Discovery has won an Emmy Award this year. It won for Outstanding Visual Effects for the episode Sukal, and this is the series' second ever Emmy Award. And it, I believe, it won because of the. If you remember in that episode, it had just a very set Dutch artist. I can't remember his name, but
MC Escher.
That's right. Thank you. I had a feeling you would know it, LT. Yeah, MC Escher's style of visual artwork in the staircases and that were a part of that. And I believe that was inspiration for them getting the Emmy. So very cool. And this is the series' second ever Emmy. So again, that's cool. We like to see it when Star Trek gets Emmys. So we wish that the shows would get Emmys for more
Acting.
Yes, acting and directing and screenwriting and best show. But, hopefully someday, like, maybe the animated shows will get Emmys for them. Who knows? Anyway.
But we'll take special effects and soundtrack any day.
Yeah. Any Emmy is a good Emmy.
Yep.
Akiva Goldsman has revealed some behind-the-scenes information about season 2 of Picard in an interview with TrekMovie.com. Goldsman revealed that not all of season 2 was written prior to filming in February. Interesting. I thought it was. I have to go back and read that article, because I thought they pretty much had it all done. Maybe they left a little bit off the table. I don't know, but he also revealed that the time travel aspect was inspired by Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. And I could see that, of course, because, that episode or that movie went back to 1986. And so, and that was present day. So it's probably inferred that this TV show will go back to 2022 or they're similar this time around. So we'll see. Season 24 of Star Trek Online has been released. With it comes a very familiar Star Trek name and voice. Chase Masterson, who played Lita from DS9, has returned as the Mirror Universe's Admiral Lita. The Mirror Universe's Terran Empire of Star Trek Online is invading the Prime timeline. Interesting.
They usually do a Mirror Universe session every fall or so.
Okay.
So it's cool that they've actually got a new old voice actor to come in and do a new part.
And I wonder if that explains how the Mirror Universe and the Prime Universe diverge. Because we know at some point, according to Star Trek Discovery Season 3, they diverge and they're no longer near each other. So anyway, Star Trek Online has also teamed up with Fanatical to do something for charity. Players can purchase game items for non-combat pets and titles to Tier 6 starships, all for just $1 and up, and all to benefit Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And to make it all even sweeter, anyone who purchases any bundle will be entered into a prize draw to win a place on Star Trek The Cruise. And that's the Cruise 5, setting sail in 2022. And I know there was a 2020, and I don't believe there was one this year. So I've heard good things about those cruises. I've never been on one. I've never been on a cruise, period. So let's see. Moving on. SAG-AFTRA has honored Picard's Michelle Hurd with the President's Award for Service for her outstanding commitment to the union's membership and to the labor movement. She has led in the front lines in their efforts to ensure the safety and protection of SAG-AFTRA members and to eradicate sexual harassment from the entertainment industry. Additionally, she represented the organization before legislative bodies advocating for laws that support and empower members and all workers. Because of her efforts, Hollywood is a safer and better place. So anyway, apparently, she's played a big role, and I know that she was running for some kind of like office within the SAG, as was Anthony Rapp. That's what I had heard. That she had been involved with the production of like in harassment and getting certain things set up so that, there was a no tolerance policy for that, and, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so good on her. Congratulations. Okay, next, Paramount has a major shakeup in management. A new CEO has been put in place, Brian Robbins. Robbins was president of Nickelodeon prior to being the new Paramount CEO. They are also splitting its television and film divisions. Paramount Television is now under the head of David Nevins, who is the CEO of Showtime and overseeing Paramount Plus's scripted programming. The outgoing chief of Paramount, Jim Giannopoulos, who is remaining with Paramount until the end of the year in an advisory role, has confirmed that not just one Star Trek film is in the works, but multiple films are. So there's quite a lot to parse out of this. Paramount is only part of the whole Viacom CBS portion. So the one thing I noticed, though, is Paramount Plus's scripted programming. So I guess, because I know Star Trek is under CBS Studios, so I don't know if that's changing and that's now part of Paramount Television or what. I don't know. I don't have the context of this news item. So
right.
But the one thing that I am seeing is Paramount Plus's scripted programming. So that sounds to me like it affects Star Trek. So anyway.
Well, remember, a lot of their programs, too, were not only shown by CBS.
Right.
So, we may see some shows that actually aired on other networks coming back home to the studio.
Yes. And I always wondered about that. Like in Canada, there's a film chain called Famous Players, and I know that they were originally part of Paramount. And I don't know if they still are or not, but they were. Whenever you'd go to like one of their theaters, you'd see a big Enterprise on the ceiling. So it says, I don't know. It doesn't mention anything specifically about Star Trek in here, other than the thing about, I don't see anything specific about Star Trek in this article. I'm just going to, I'm looking at the Hollywood Reporter.
Right.
The only thing it mentions about it is the films. So nothing about TV show. So anyway, and some of the content that's on Paramount Plus comes from that side versus, so from the Nickelodeon, Paramount Network, MTV side versus the CBS side. So, they were two companies, now they're one. So anyway, enough of that. Next, Star Trek will indeed have a presence at New York Comic Con in October. This is not a surprise to me. What is mentioned here, Discovery and Prodigy will be there. There will also be a special screening of the first 2 episodes of the first season, comprising the hour-long premiere on October 28th. So I'm assuming that is of Prodigy.
Right.
And I was thinking that we would see something about Strange New Worlds. I don't see it mentioned here. Yeah, it just looks like it's Prodigy, and I don't see anything on Strange New Worlds. It's just Prodigy and Discovery. So,
well, maybe we'll see. Maybe they're holding it out for a surprise.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. All right. Now we have some book news. 3 books are out or will be out. The first one I mentioned, Una McCormack, earlier in the episode. She has a book coming out about, she originally had done the autobiography of Catherine Janeway. And she has now done a second autobiography, this one on Mr. Spock. So it fills in the gaps of Spock's life. So, and there are several gaps, like the time in between the Enterprise B, I guess, and him being an ambassador and all that stuff, and then going to Romulus. That's a big part of what we don't know, and other parts before he became on the Enterprise, I guess. So there's a lot of that, but I know specifically that time, there'd be a lot of that time there after Jim Kirk gets caught in the Nexus. So next thing, there is actually, I'm going to say these out of context here. There's a fourth book, actually. He says that there's 3 books. There's a fourth book. There is a book called Star Trek First Contact, the official story of the film, celebrating its 25th anniversary. This book will detail every aspect of production of the film. It is due to be released on April 5th, 2022. And last month, a prequel Picard novel was released that we didn't mention, titled Rogue Elements. It deals with Rios and how he got the La Sirena starship in the years leading up to meeting Picard. So in between the Ibn Majid and the La Sirena, I guess. So, and of course, meeting Picard. The fourth book that isn't in our list is actually something I heard on Larry Nemechek's The Trek Files this week. And that is a book that was done. It's also by Hero Collector, the people that do Eagle Moss and that's all part of the same company. They have a book coming out on Star Trek, the original series, and the 55th anniversary. So it's written by Ben Robinson and Larry Nemechek's guest this week, and I can't remember his name.
The guy with Larry. Ian Spelling. So it was Ian Spelling and Ben Robinson that co-authored that book. So Star Trek: A Celebration is what it's called. So anyway, so that's coming out on September 21st, I believe. Excellent.
All right. So that is it for our news this week. Let's see. I'll flip a coin.
I'll do it.
All right.
So I don't have to butcher the Patreons.
Oh, you'll leave me to do that.
Yep. All right. To submit your theories and feedback, go to talkthroughmedia.com/feedback, where you can submit text or audio. Call 216-232-6146 and leave us a voicemail. You can email us at lowerdecks@talkthroughmedia.com and post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group. And you can find that at groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts. The deadline for Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 7 will be our regular day and time, Friday, September 24th, 2021, at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Take it away, LT.
Okay, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Star Trek TTM. A great way you can support us is to share us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. You can write us a review there as well. Share our posts on Facebook and retweet us on Twitter, especially when we get the new episode out. Subscribe to the Talk Through Media YouTube channel. That's where you'll find the new episodes before anyone else does, unless you're a Patreon supporter. You can subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts or the podcast client of your choice. While you're there, give us a rating or review. We love ratings. We love reviews.
And it's been a while. Please help us.
It's been a long road.
Yes. Getting from there to here.
And I'd also like to mention you can leave us a rating and review at podchaser.com. There you can do individual episodes or the whole series. Another way you can help support us is via our Patreon. We would like to thank our Patreon supporters: James Robbins, Kim Vogley, Brian Shiro, Christoph Leckleitner, Lee Radke, Michael Carrier, Stephen Chambers, Kevin Lyle, Jeff Gentry, Robert Kaiser, Clint McCollum, Mike, Trey Whipke, me, and that guy. The quail.
Oh, so much
quail.
better. Yeah, do that. The quail.
Yes.
I'm going to change that.
It's worth saying that all episodes of the Talk Through Media podcast can be found on the Talk Through Media all-inclusive feed, which also contains the Rebinge DS9 podcast and the other podcast the three of us do, the Walking Dead Talk Through. And we have been doing the Walking Dead Talk Through now. We've done up to season 11, episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll soon, once that half season is over, well, actually, before that, we will soon be covering both that and World Beyond. And then once The Walking Dead is over, then we'll be covering Fear the Walking Dead. So there's a lot we're covering. And, yes. On here, we'll be covering Star Trek Discovery, and that's when Ruthie will come back on November 18th is when that comes back. And October 28th is when Prodigy will be coming back. So I think there's like a week off, and then there'll be Prodigy. And I still don't have any news to cover on that, other than to say that we will be covering Prodigy on the network. It just most likely will not be the three of us. So, but we'll be having more information about that hopefully next week. If not next week, then the week after for sure. Our next episode will be covering season 2, episode 7 of Star Trek Lower Decks. We don't know what the title of it is, or who's directed it, or a description, but we know that it's season 2, episode 7, because this one is episode 6. Until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kyle.
And I'm LT.
Peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Kapla.
Need to add that in there. Alrighty. Wait. Stop.
Pull the lever, Crunk.